We started Leading Giants for an important reason. I saw a pattern in companies that succeed and fail. So you'd probably ask, well, how big of a pattern? What experience? I've started 5 different companies. I exited on 4 of them, 1 for 7 figures, a couple for 9 figures, 1,300 locations across all of North America with several $billion in collective revenue. And we have been in and out of the doors of 7 or 8 million different companies interviewing CEOs, interviewing entrepreneurs, founders, marketing people. And we found there was 2 different groups of people, and it's the successful and the unsuccessful, and they have different thought patterns for their success or for their failure. And if we just teach people thinking this way, how to think that way, they can have success. Well, virtue and vice, basically. If you were to look at it simply, it's virtue and vice. Within vice are things like lack of self-control, bad decision-making, unfairness, giving up, quitting, all these different types of things that people, nobody ever says. What I loved about working there is they made bad decisions, they had no self-control, and they were unfair. Okay, and they were quitters. But people love it when somebody does work hard, they make great decisions, they get things done, they're fair, they have good self-control. And so I help people. In fact, in Leading Giants, if I can shamelessly promote the fact that it came out on Amazon a few days ago, it was #1 new bestseller. It beat some good people, a friend of mine, Pat Lencioni, but also Bill Gates. I was happy that I was ahead of that book. Anyway, the whole idea behind the Dragon Slayer idea within Leading Giants, and that's our executive coaching division, is that there are 12 thought patterns that these giants that really become amazing at what they do have. And I walk through what those 12 are in our programs. Well, they get confused on advertising, branding, sales, and marketing and the relationship between those, so they don't really know where to direct their resources and their targeting. But to keep it simple, let's talk about the failures first. There's a couple of brief epitaphs that people who fail actually use. It's kind of funny. They say basically 3 different types of categories. They say things like, we have so much business we don't know what to do with it, or we're all referrals. What they don't realize is that that's like admitting, I don't know how to run a business. I'm not a very good business person. They might know real estate, so they're busy with real estate or whatever it might be, but they don't know how to grow a business. You can imagine Nike or it's Coca-Cola or Apple or even Beyonce saying, I have so much business, I don't know what to do with it, so I'm not going to market anymore. No way. A great leader says, if you have so much business you don't know what to do with it, as a great leader, I will tell you exactly what to do with it. You grow the business. So they don't realize there's an ignorance in there, but there is. The second one is they say, we tried it and it didn't work. Well, usually they're not equating things the right way. What they said, they tried to brand, but they did it in an advertising way. Or they tried to advertise, but they did it in a marketing way. Or they tried to sell, but they did it in a branding and advertising. They don't know what they're doing, so they equate it the wrong way. A great example would be they buy listings from a digital company and they say they had a bad advertising campaign. Listings isn't advertising. It's like having a front door with a sign on the front of it, or back in the day having your name in the phone book. It's not an advertising campaign, it's a presence campaign. So these are the types of things they get confused about. Or what they do is they say things like, well, we can't afford advertising, which is probably the funniest of all, because that's like saying, I have no air in my lungs, therefore I have no time to breathe. Well, I think you should now. So that's what they do. Well, they succeed because they get the difference between advertising, marketing, branding, and sales. It's like friendship, really. A brand is a friend. And even if you actually look at the way that you can connect to, you can wire up your brain to see how it fires off when you see a familiar brand or a familiar friend. It's very similar. So what does that mean? Well, let's say I like classic cars. And I want to have friends that like classic cars. So what I decide to do is I decide to meet those friends by going to dog parks. Well, there's no guarantee that going to dog parks is going to make me friends with the dog owners, because it has nothing to do with classic cars. So, and by the way, if I went to dog parks every single day, all day, constantly, with constant contact, it would still not be good. So going to the dog parks is a little bit like advertising. You're going to a place, you're sending a message constantly out there, but you're going to the wrong people. Marketing is a little bit like going to the right people. So I'm going to go to car shows. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to garages. I'm going to hang out with people who like classic cars. Now I've branded effectively. And if I do that often, I'm really doing good advertising and branding. What is the advertising? Going to the car shows, going often. What is marketing? Going to the right car shows. So I meet the right people. But now I go to the car shows and I dress funny. And I use the wrong terms. I talk like I don't know anything about cars. And classic car show, I say that, fossil fuels are bad. Okay, well, even though I've identified the right market and I'm going there often, I don't fit. So I can't build the friendships there that I need to build. And that's what branding is. It's to build them right. It's to say, what do these people like? How can I please them? Once I have them as a friend, how can I stay loyal to them and keep my promises? When you have that and you've established a friend, they stay your friend. And that matters. But then there's also the third or the fourth thing, and that's sales. What if they say, well, there's a lot of friends here. I like all these people. So you're advertising effectively, you're marketing effectively, you're branding effectively, but I only have time for so many friends and I got to pick one. That's when sales comes in. And sales takes your hand and says, this is the friend you should choose and why. And they can handle your objections personally, because the branding, the marketing, and the advertising, while it's designed to be personal to you, it still isn't a personal connection. And the salesperson can fill in the gaps. Well, we don't have salespeople peddling products. We have digital growth coaches. We also have the leadership growth coaches. On the leadership side, they're called the dragon slaying coaches. And they come right here to the Dragon Slay Theater, where we actually teach people to be great entrepreneurs. Or for digital campaigns, we can help people through some of that coaching. But they're coaches. And so we really work with them on how to understand this a little bit better. Because a lot of people in the digital world know the technical side of things. They're like, well, this, and like, I'm telling you, my eyes glaze over as a CEO and people start talking. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to know how it works. I just need to know that it works. A funny thing is that in my companies, I've had private equity companies come in to buy them, and they all say the same thing. You guys are the most technologically advanced company that we bought. And yet what's funny is I don't even know how to use this. I can read them, but I don't know how to use an Excel spreadsheet. When I see people dealing with those cells, I'm like, wow, you must be a genius. Because I don't need to. And most of the people who are decision makers, they don't want to know that, but they want to know how these things fit together. So our coaches help them do that, and they become certified at a level where they're very, very helpful in that process. And we also have domestic account managers that work with our people too. So what do we say? Our saying is this: let's go fail small often so we can succeed big together. That's what we do. We'll get into the campaign so we can adjust and make the changes that we need to in order to have a great campaign for the right client.